Hi, everybody. Thanks again for coming to watch my video on pros and cons. Pros and cons is a DBT skill within the distress tolerance unit. It is used to allow people to really consider um, and see that coping skillfully with pain and impulsive urges leads to better results than maybe acting impulsively or rejecting their reality. So listing the pros and cons of both doing the problem behavior and not doing the problem behavior really helps you to get more information. So I'm going to share with you here a little worksheet that I like to do in session. So just one second here. So this is the pros and cons worksheet. So for teaching sakes, I'm just going to kind of make something up here just to kind of help with seeing what this looks like. So let's say maybe the crisis is that the I don't know, my boyfriend has cheated on me. The crisis urge might be to lash out and get into a fight. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at what the pros are on acting on that crisis urge to kind of fight or maybe get into a physical altercation, and what is the pros and cons of resisting that urge. So if we're looking at the pros, one of the pros of maybe fighting is that there's a release of anger, right? So that feels good in the moment. Maybe the pros is that you get to make a point about how painful something was. Maybe the pro of acting on that is that you get to assert some power, right? Okay. And you guys can think of your own, whatever that case may be. So maybe some of the cons of acting on that impulsive urge is that there is possibly call the cops, maybe. Perhaps the situation escalates. Perhaps there is some pain involved if somebody hits back. Perhaps there might be your self-respect is lost. I don't know, maybe another con of acting on that lashing out, fighting behavior would be others get hurt. I don't know. So let's talk about what are some of the benefits of resisting the crisis urges. You avoid any long-term trouble. You avoid allowing the situation to escalate. You avoid ongoing issues that might result. You maintain self-respect. And you avoid any kind of pain, or you get to utilize skills. Instead, you are able to work through your emotions without making them worse. And then the cons of resisting the impulse urges might be that there is no immediate release of anger. It may be your pride is hurt. Maybe feelings of powerlessness might happen. Or let's see. Resisting crisis urges might also I don't know. Let's leave it at that. So down here at the bottom on this worksheet, I also have that we want to go back through your short term and the long term. Are these short term pros and cons or long term pros and cons? So let's look at this. Is release of anger short term or long term? This is short term. Is it the make a point short term or long term? That's short term. And asserting power, is that short term or long term? Is pretty momentary. Calling the cops, is that short term or long term? It could be long term depending on, or short term. So I'm going to put both here. With the situation escalating, that could also be short term or long term depending on what happens. Pain, is that short term or long term? That seems to have a short term effect. Self-respect is lost, that could be long term. And others getting hurt could be either short term or long term depending on how it goes. Let's look at this, the avoiding any long term trouble, is that short term or long term? That would be long term. Avoid allowing the situation to escalate is short term. Avoid ongoing issues, that might be long term. Maintaining self-respect would be long term. Avoiding pain, that might be short term. Getting to utilize skills instead, that's short term. Able to work through emotions without making them worse is long term. No immediate release of anger is short term. Pride is hurt, that's short term. Feelings of powerlessness are short term. So let's just kind of evaluate this chart. So as you can see, some of the pros of acting on the impulsive urges are all short term, as well as the cons of not acting on it. But if you look on the pros and cons of resisting the crisis urges and the cons of acting on the crisis urges, then you see more long-term stuff appear. Now you can do this with any type of risk behavior and go through the pros and cons of each of these without having to have a situation. And risk behaviors can be anything from self-harm, aggressive behavior, substance use, all kinds of different things. And then you can print this out and you can carry it with you so that whenever you're having urges that you can pull it out. I don't generally like to talk about too many risk behaviors on videos because I don't want to be responsible for triggering anything without having a counselor available. But you can carry this with you for those risk behaviors so you are able to process that. You can also imagine negative consequences of giving into the crisis urge and what might happen afterwards, not just in the short term, but also in the long term and how that might go. Thank you again for watching my video, and I hope this was helpful and you guys have a great day.